Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty, oh valley of plenty, oh.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So we are back with another episode of The Witcher, episode 6. Last time on The Witcher, a bit of a frivolous episode. Both Geralt and Jaskier are finding themselves in a bit of a mess, crossing paths with a djinn, a very powerful creature, and having to actually meet Yennefer. I mean, for the several episodes gone so far, we've been following Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri in their own individual timelines, their own continuity, right? So this is the first time that two of the three have actually crossed paths with each other. So, and what an interesting adventure it has been with them actually meeting. And one of the highlights for me, of course, is definitely just that scene where she says the famous white wolf. It was in the trailer, the initial trailer that Netflix had released for the series. She says the famous white wolf, and she expected him to have horns and fangs or something, and he said that had him fall down. It was just a surreal moment. I was just waiting for it, and it was delivered just as phenomenal as it was in the trailer, and I loved it. Of course, something that this episode raised, and I feel like the writers are trying to ensure that we don't forget about it. And it kind of ties back to what happened in the very first episode with Renfrey, and what Strugglebor hinted at in that, that Geralt may in fact have been under Renfrey's spell and not so much he wasn't so much acting on his own, right? Because she had the power to influence men and force them, to do her will. And I was interested. I was intrigued to see that pop up in the last episode as well, because the elf that they went to, the medic or healer, doctor, whatever he might be in this world, but the elf that he went to with Jaskier initially to help him recover from the curse or whatever it is that the djinn did to him, and he seemed infatuated with Yennefer, and Geralt asked him, are you under her spell? And he said no, it's simply a matter of body chemistry, right? And whether that meant he was in love with her, or because they're both part elf, whatever the case might be. But later on in the episode, the elf said to Geralt when he was running back into the mansion to save her, he said, I think perhaps you understand me, right? And it begs the question as to whether or not they're acting solely because they care about her, or are they under some spell? Is Geralt under some spell? And was that the case with Renfrey in the very first episode? I don't believe it is, from what I do know of the characters, from only playing the games, haven't read the novels, but from what we know, I don't believe he is. But it's just interesting that they've tossed that in there to force the viewers to actually question these things. It's always good when you're forced to question and think what other possibilities there could be. So that was an interesting thing in the episode. We caught up with Ciri and Musak, who unfortunately died in that episode. So pretty much all the characters who I've liked from that very first episode and have now died, right? Calanthe, iced, and now Musak is gone. So, and a Doppler, of course, has now taken his place, and Brooklyn Forest, he found his way there, and he now has Ciri because she now believes it's actually Musak. So, I'm curious to see where it goes from here. Can't wait to get into it. So, episode 6, let's check it out.
It's been an hour. Let's get on before the beast gets hungry again.
But we made a deal.
I guess Geralt's on a contract.
No sense in hanging around to pay a dead one.
Stop that, or
You're trying to steal from him?
Seeing as the dead.
Perhaps you did not hear the man.
Yeah, perhaps you didn't. Sorry,
Who's this?
I see no steel here.
Oh. Damn. Okay. That escalated quickly.
I believe those are mine.
You touched Roach.
This woman just killed a man with her bare hands for trying to steal your horse.
Maybe she'll make a better travel companion then.
I've been looking for you, Geralt.
For a moment there, I was actually wondering if it was Vesemir.
One of everything you have, and keep the ale coming.
It's clearly wealthy.
Second one is this. A short while ago, a green Niedermeer's mountains. I know what you're thinking. Impossible. Dragons are so rare. But it's true. Locals spotted it and went after it in search of treasure. Of course, they succeeded. He's set to marry the princess of his rival kingdom, Marlior, which means it's bad timing to have a murderous pest lurking about in the mountains. He's...
They seem quite capable themselves. I don't know why they need his. I mean,
Those
it's
dwarves
Geralt,
will be
but
part of the hunt.
That's only 3. What's the 4th team?
Them.
Ah.
Oh.
Now he is interested.
Oh no, for the wine and the pies, but as the man said, we really can't get involved. Geralt, shall we?
I'm in.
I knew it.
The hunt begins at...
Coming across a witcher.
And now you can't
And then
escape
the
one.
first one I meet, I can't get rid of.
I'd say something strange was afoot, but then again, witches are bound to bump into monsters eventually.
Nice.
Yes,
Yennefer.
The crow's feet are new.
What are you doing here, Yen?
I'm here with my escort. Noble, sir, I could do
Oh,
with
and it has
it.
a nickname for her.
To assist him in killing the dragon.
For kingdom and glory.
Yeah, he's gonna die.
Do we meet?
Questions.
Getting irritated.
We'll be together soon. Exactly as your grandmother wished.
Dragons avoid people. It should have left when they attacked.
Wow.
I don't get it.
Scorched
Why the
the mountainside.
retaliation?
When your species is on the verge of collapse, perhaps everything becomes more desperate.
Interesting. Is he actually human?
Yeah,
He
I mean,
speaks as though he's
You
not.
can use twigs.
The
but
two
I mean, I prefer
escorts that he has says he's the
using
most
flowers,
beautiful.
you know.
Like,
Roses. It's one of your friends again.
What in the name of Blomin Magd is that?
Sanharika. It's probably starving. Sheathe your weapons.
are you deaf? Why would you do that, man? Come on. The hell is your problem?
For kingdom and glory.
He's obviously no warrior and will probably be the first to die.
Thanks. What's so amusing? You overgrown cockhair.
I'm just wondering who I will kill first. The monster? Or the monster hunter?
He doesn't play well.
Dear. I'm afraid I must take my
Told
leave.
you not to
Lady
eat it.
Yennefer, may I escort you?
Me.
My lady, I would never degrade your honor in such a way.
I hate to break it to you, but that ship has sailed, wrecked, and sunk to the bottom of the ocean. Ow.
Told him not to eat it. Come on. Ah, he finally
Oh, well, you've
managed to make
all
him
seen a
smile.
dragon before, have you? Geralt, will you please tell them?
Their numbers are dwindling. Treasure seekers sort of that. But the gold dragons are a myth. For a gold dragon to exist, it would have to be the result of an accidental, unique mutation. And in my experience,
Do you know what happens to people who escape a siege? Because they don't just vanish. They get captured and they get turned. Remember what the Dry Queen said. Ask the right questions.
I wish Siri would start asking these questions too.
what are you really doing here?
I'm here for the dragon. There are certain healing properties it's rumored to possess.
Oh.
I thought you were trying. Yennefer. Do not tell me you've traveled all this way for made-up fertility cures using fresh dragon hearts.
They're not made up.
They are. And seriously, you, a mother?
Do you think I'd make a bad one?
I'm actually
Definitely.
confused as to why she wants a child as well. But I mean, she's been alive for decades, so the end that we were
Child.
introduced to may be
What could
different
you possibly
now.
want with a
They
child?
took my choice. I want it back.
They didn't take it. You made the choice.
Not that I'd expect you to understand.
Become a witcher.
And witchers can't have children either.
Did you miss the cold too?
Yes, very much.
Except you have arthritis. You hate the cold.
Thank you. She finally caught up.
Our name is not Mousesack. We killed Mousesack and took his disguise.
Don't die. Oh, can't touch silver. Alright, looks like he's lost his phone. That would be a good time to run. No, dog. What the hell?
The man with the winged helmet.
Why is he going to so much trouble?
I'm special. I don't know how or why, but there's something inside me. Kill him.
Can't kill her. I was surprised by that though. I'm glad to see she's stepping up because she needs to. She can't keep being the naive child.
Yeah, you're right, this is a
What
short.
the
Death.
You wanna beat those reavers or no?
We should
At
turn
what
back.
cost?
No. We're very close.
How can you possibly know that?
Tis a perfectly fine route.
For a dwarf.
Ah. Stifle your mule and you manage.
Well, they can't turn back now.
Get back!
You're just gonna add to the weight.
Sir Witcher, you will save us yet.
It's either let him go or take everyone else down with you.
You did your best. There's nothing else you could have done.
Blame the dwarves. This is not a good
Leave
secret
them.
path.
That is, if you give me another chance.
So,
That looks a bit more roomier inside.
I was afraid that mountain would take you from me. But now I fear it took your senses instead.
only my nonsense.
I quite like your nonsense.
I like gooseberries.
Scent. Before we met, the days were calm, and the nights were restless. But now,
Again?
you're important.
Where the hell is everyone?
Where are those fucking dwarves?
Yonder!
Oh, looks like you finally caught her.
Don't scream. I understand why you're afraid.
Okay. What's the doppel playing at?
What have you done?
You are an abomination! I will destroy you!
Which one is it?
You're still here, aren't you?
Alright, so the doppel escaped.
Be quiet!
Ah, the old man was the dragon. They really should just have girls use those swords on his back instead of dragging that thing around.
He's dead.
She's dead.
Ah, but the man is the gold dragon.
When the dragoness was injured, her cry was heard by Villain Threatenworth.
But the egg could not be moved, or the life inside it would die.
Why bring the Witcher though?
She was protecting her baby.
So I came to find you, the white-haired Witcher. The knight who was taught to save dragons instead of kill them.
Alright. To save them from the Reavers.
It's like we get to fuck up the whole family. Slay that dragon.
Come on.
Now!
Was the kiss really necessary for that? Where is Yaskir in all of this? Yen can take care of himself. Oh no, oh no.
It's not going to happen.
Shame you don't get to see me crack that egg.
Oh man, I was wondering where is Yaskir? Still sleeping through it all.
Well, that's fucking shite! We miss a whole motherload of fun!
Ask no questions, and in return, I offer you these to take to the king.
Dragon teeth? I've never been one to look at gift cop.
He caught me. He's going to come back, Dara. We have to hurry.
If we had just stayed in Brooklands, because we agreed to it.
Or is that
stay
is
with
that
you
even
and
Dara?
I'll be
I
dead
can't
soon.
even be sure.
And you say you're so special. What you really mean is that you're just like Calante.
That's not
you
Dara,
bring
is
terror
it?
and you bring death wherever you are.
It's not Dara.
Find a new family, because I can't be that for you anymore.
Alright, so obviously that is not Dara. But what's the Doppler's game here?
Thank you for protecting it. And thank you, Yennefer of Vengerberg.
I don't thank her just yet.
Didn't want to lose you.
Jeez.
Does that mean?
Vinrind. The Jinn.
That's why we can't escape each other. Why I feel this way inside.
The sorceress will never regain her womb. Though you didn't want to lose her, Geralt. You will.
How does this dragon know all this?
He already has.
Whew, what a day. Imagine you'll probably...
Damn it, Yaskir!
Why is it whenever I find myself in a pile of shit?
That's not fair.
The child surprise!
That's not fair.
The Jinn! All of it! If life could give me one blessing, it would be to take you off my hands.
That is not fair.
Right.
Give him some time.
You rose up against the usurper. helped free our people from their chains. I witnessed the wife. She is the key. But you, the commissioner.
And she just becoming another tyrant, though.
Gather the men. We cannot fail him.
Who's him?
The time of the sword and the axe is nigh.
Alright, there we have it, episode 6 of The Witcher, and very interesting episode. I've got to say, first off, the chemistry between both actors on screen, both Geralt and Yennefer, I love their chemistry. They have really good chemistry on screen. But that said, there's a bit of a disconnect, right, between I don't know if it's because of the timelines, because we're jumping back and forth. When I think about it, where we left off the last episode and where we are now, it just feels a bit a bit jarring that their relationship has blossomed in the way that it has in such a short space of time. And I mean, the challenge, and it's a bit tricky because I know for the purposes of the story, they do need to be moving through time in the way that they have in 3 different timelines. But the fact that, when they're having that argument, Geralt and Yennefer, and she was saying that she woke up and he wasn't there. So some time has passed between the last episode and this one. So she has resented him to some extent because he left. He just abruptly left. And now he's back and he expects things to be the same. But for us, in our mind, she just saw him the last episode, and they were together the last episode. So I mean, there's something of a disconnect there because of the way that the story is actually being told. So I mean, to its merit and to its disadvantage as well. It works in some areas, but in others not so much, because with their relationship, the chemistry is there, but you don't feel as though enough time has passed for them to be, as close as they appear to be. So I mean, even when they were having the conversation and he's like, she didn't want to lose her, it just felt a bit jarring for me, because you guys just met last episode. So how, I mean, you just met her, right? So that was my first thought. I just couldn't help it, because I'm just thinking we're picking up from where we were the last episode, but we're not. This is, I'm assuming, maybe weeks or months since they actually met, since the last episode, in terms of the actual timeline. But and I don't know, perhaps over time, as we go through the other more episodes, they'll sort of refine that, right? But as I said, I love the chemistry that they have on screen, but is the only issue is in the way that the story is being told. It's a bit difficult to believe that they've grown this close in such a short space of time. But nonetheless, the dragon here, I'm a bit confused. And before I even touch on the dragons, something I wanted to, I'm hoping that some of the commenters can clarify for me. For those who are more familiar with the novels than I am, since I'm not at all, apart from a few snippets that I've read, I'm not too familiar with the story. But they spoke earlier on about fertility and what's taken from them, right? In Geralt's case, I do understand that he didn't choose to be a witcher, so that choice was taken from him. But Yennefer's, I don't fully comprehend, because the choice wasn't taken from her. She made the choice, right? And there's an argument to be made that perhaps that is actually a part of the process to become a sorceress. Maybe she would have had to have gone through the process anyway. But from what we've seen, she made the choice, and she was told at the beginning that, okay, this is the cost, right? You can never bear again, and she accepted the cost. So it's just, I'm not sure how her suggesting that the choice was taken from her fits into this storyline. So if someone could explain for me how that molds into what she's saying here. Is it that she would have gone through that process anyway, and she just kind of jumped the gun and she went ahead and did it without the council's knowledge. If that's the case, I do understand. But I mean, from our perspective, from what we've seen, she actually made the choice to not have kids in exchange for her appearance. So just post down below. Let me know if you have any first-hand knowledge from the novels that may actually explain that bit. But the introduction of the dragons, the moment it was mentioned in this episode, I was looking forward to it, because one of the, and I'm gonna bring up Game of Thrones again. One of the issues that I had with Game of Thrones is how sparingly they actually used the creatures. I mean, that was a world that was intended to be fantasy, but they hinted at a lot and didn't show a whole lot until the very last season, which, I mean, it works for budgetary reasons. I do understand why they couldn't, but I mean, it's HBO. I think given the revenue that they were generating from Game of Thrones, I felt as though they could have done that, because it wasn't an immediate hit, but shortly after season 1, season 2, it became a big hit, and they've had time, and I believe they had the resources to do it. So I'm glad to see that Netflix is not shying away from fantasy. Every other episode, you're introduced to some supernatural being, some creature, something fantastical in this world, and that's one of the highlights of this series for me so far. So I was very, happily surprised that they've actually introduced 2 dragons. One died, and one was already dead. So technically one. But I did not know that the dragons could transform into humans, though. I did know that they were intelligent beings, right? But I didn't know they could actually transform into humans. So that was an interesting bit. I do wish we got more, in terms of the dragon himself, fighting or taking part in the battle. We did have one scene of him, burning a guy to death, but I would have loved to have seen more. But I love what the small bit that I did actually get. And I don't think this is the first time we're being introduced to dwarves. I think we saw one in that with Ciri, after she escaped Nilfgaard. But this is the first time we've actually had any focus on the dwarves, and so I'm absolutely love that. Prior to that, it was the elves. I know we've been introduced to the dwarves as well, and the reavers. So we're learning about all these different people and different cultures that exist within the world as we go along. So excellent. This bit with Geralt and Yennefer and the wish, right? I'm not sure I completely understand, what the actual wish was. From what I forgot his name, or what the dragon said. My assumption would be that he wished that he would never lose her, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I suppose that was his wish, and I can understand why she'd resent him for it, and I don't understand why he would wish that. And it goes back to my point earlier in my discussion here that I mean, he just met her, so it's just a bit it feels a bit rushed, and it shouldn't. I think they've had enough time. It was really it wasn't necessary for them to try to, I don't know, to try to rush that bit of it, right? Would have actually been fine if what he did in that moment was to use the wish, but not so much to say that I don't want to lose her, but just to save her life, and she resents him for it, but over time she forgives him because he did save her life. That would have felt a bit more organic, because he just met her. She pretty much almost got him killed, almost got Yasker killed, and then he wished that he never loses her. It just felt a bit rushed, right? And I felt that was a bit unnecessary. They could have accomplished the very same thing without having that bit there. But that seemed to have been what he wished for, and of course she's rightly upset because for all his talk about being a witcher and not having made that choice himself, what he actually wished for is to some extent taking the choice away from her. And Whether or not their feelings towards each other is genuine, we'll never really know. And it kind of speaks to what I said initially at the very beginning of this video about Geralt's first encounter with Renfrey and whether or not he actually had feelings for Renfrey or he was under her influence, right? And we see that coming back in play here with him and Yennefer. But we found Ciri again, and this bit with the Doppler, I'm 90% certain that wasn't Dara at the end, that it must have been a Doppler. I'm still not sure why he would be so interested in Ciri, that he would want to separate her from Dara and not turn her over to Nilfgaard, whatever his plans were. And initially I thought that the only way the Doppler could actually morph into someone else was if he actually killed them. Otherwise, why did he kill Musak in the last episode if it wasn't necessary? He could have kept him around. Sorry. He could have kept him around for and used him for other purposes, right? So why kill him? So it appears as though he can actually change into someone, but does he need physical contact to actually do it? That's my only assumption, because I mean, in order for him to gain someone else's memories and you know what and their abilities, whatever the case might be, he must. I don't know. I'm thinking that he must be able to make some, either their blood or physical contact or something to be able to do all that. But they went through the trouble of killing Musak, which why? Yeah, but he said, you know, they didn't tell him that, you know, she was special, the power that she held. But why would a Doppler be so interested in that? Why would a Doppler be so interested in that? So I mean, I'm sure we'll have further explanations down the road. I'm just about that. I'm not sure where Ciri is gonna go next. I figured she would have headed back to Brooklyn Forest, but I don't think she's gonna be doing that. She's most likely gonna be heading, you know, back on the road to try to find Geralt, especially with that bit at the end there where you know, he was told that his destiny is still out there waiting for him to find. So raises the question as to whether or not they will actually meet up before the season actually concludes. And initially when we started I would have said yes, but it's starting to look as though that might not happen until the very last episode. So I don't think Geralt and Ciri will actually meet until the very last episode. But another fantastic episode, and I'm definitely looking forward to the next one. Be sure to post down below, guys, let me know what your thoughts are on this episode. Hit like and subscribe, and I will see you guys for the next one.